Welcome to another episode of Mere Finance. What a week in terms of inflation, in Fed policy, in bets that Fed Reserve is going to cut rates shortly, that it is imminent. But here at Mere Finance, we don't believe that's so we want to present our analysis. So, Federal Reserve Act in 1913, when it came to reality, has two mandates, what we call dual mandates, to promote maximum employment and to have stable prices. Now, as you see, maximum might be subjective, stable can be also subjective. So let's see what the mandate actually shows. So what is maximum employment? It has changed over the course of years as the economy changes, as we have technology, as we got engines that can do more work, as productivity goes up, as sectors change. The economy is constantly evolving, so of course maximum employment also changes. Because before someone had to work 10 hours, 12 hours in the field to accomplish something for a certain amount of money, now you can do it in 1 hour with a machine and provides more output. So you're now more people employed means the economy is actually doing better, because if you have more capital, then maybe your economy will be more productive. But in any case, the paper that it was in 2021 from Bart Hovin and Aysegul Sahin, they were trying to show what maximum employment is and the participation cycle. And basically, it's based on a ton of assumptions, but the main one is that the economy is using all supply and demand, all resources in full capacity to acquire great growth, and is using also X amount of employment necessary to achieve that economic goal. So in lame terms, unemployment of 5% or lower is often considered full employment in a real world context. And the jobless claims came in 227,000 versus the estimated 235,000. And unemployment is still under 5%, it's around 4.1, which is a big surprise because expectation was higher jobless claims. So it shows that the labor market is still pretty resilient. So I guess in that sense, the mandate is completed. Now, price stability. What is stability? Well, stability is when you don't go to the store every month and you buy less and less, but your money is the same. So in theory, price stability shows historically that it should be a 2% inflation rate growth. And this is what we have seen in the last year, month over month. So in July 2023, 0.2%, August 0.5%, September 0.5%. Now, during the summer, in May and June, we saw big wins, 0%, and actually a drop in prices is 0.1, negative 0.1. But again, in July, we see again a little increase, 0.2 was the month over month, which is basically in line with what we have seen in the last year. So it's not a big win, but it's not a bad number, just showing that inflation still is running a bit. And what really brought the attention was the retail sales. It was 1% increase versus the 0.5% expectation. This is the best number since 2022. So this shows something, that prices are still going up in inflation, though it's being controlled more. And retail sales, there is also people buying and buying without much restraint. So if retail sales show that people still have money to spend, which actually shows that the economy is not as bad as they paint. So that is still running. Now, let's go into the super core inflation. Super core inflation is what you actually need to survive, right? Housing, energy, food. And you can see that the top contributors, which are energy and food and shelter, are still above 3%. It's getting sticky. They won't go down. So even though your rates are pretty high, we have an effective federal rate of 5.3%, 5.33%, and it's bringing down some of the other components in the ones that we care the most because are the super core. We still don't see a big decrease. You can see it's the line. It's sticking that around in 3% and holding there, which is where we start getting confused or a little worried, like where can we attack inflation? We attacked it in everywhere, but our super core won't recede. And that's something that could be worrisome. Then this is the expectation. The market is pricing 27.5% of a cut rate of 50 bips and a 72.5% of 25 bips. So basically, market is saying it's imminent that we'll have a cut, either 50%, 50 bips or 25 bips, right? So the probability of a 25 bips cut went from 51 to 72. So actually, the probability of last week that we had 50 bips actually went down because 48 to 27, which means the market is pricing a cut, but not as an aggressive cut. But there is two questions. What if super core inflation remains stagnant? And the other one is data dependent. We still have a CPI print in September, and we still have a jobs report in September before the decision from the Fed. So what if the job market comes strong? And what if the CPI doesn't recede? Then I will argue that we need like a zero cuts also arm in this probability binary composition, right? I personally, as mere finance, we don't think that there should be an imminent rate cut. There's some probability of not a rate cut. It's always data dependent. So I think the market is probably going ahead of themselves. And the other aspect is the dollar. The dollar has been the weakest in the last 6 months. It's going down. Actually, when your rates go up, your currency gets stronger. So actually, before cutting rates, dollar is already weakening. And this could be an issue because the US survives on imported goods and it transfers the inflation risk, right? If you have a stronger dollar, your imports are cheaper. So if your dollar is weakening, your goods that are imported are going to increase, which also puts some inward pressure into inflation. So if the dollar keeps falling, does this increase the risk of inflation coming back? Probably yes, because as I said, imported goods depend a lot on the value of the dollar. So remember, rate cuts weakens the dollar. So if the dollar is already weakened without a cut, I don't think the Fed is going to have a good way of cutting rates because it will damage even more the dollar. So that's another dilemma. So in theory, I think that the Fed is being cautious. I think it has to be data dependent based on CPI, based on how the dollar acts, and also based on the jobs markets. Who knows? Revisions are coming. Because as we can see, all the employment numbers have been revised for the negative. So we now know if actually the data that we have been working with is not accurate, it actually has to be revised. And the other aspect is credit usage. Seems like in retail sales, seems like in other consumption areas, credit cards and credit usage is still strong. So probably that's another issue, that the support for inflation comes from a high credit usage from consumers and not so much that they have disposable income. So in theory, we think the Fed should basically be data dependent. I don't think the market should celebrate an imminent rate cut. It might actually have to be revised against September, but I don't think the imminent cut is coming. There's so many factors that could go against it. So let us know what you think, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.